I've mentioned a few times on Black Ops 6 videos and in the Multiverse podcast, go check that out if you guys want to check out the podcast that me and my buddy Warren launched about 2 months ago, that I've been grinding Black Ops 6 multiplayer harder than any Call of Duty multiplayer in years. I fell off of the 6v6 Call of Duty multiplayer train during the post-Warzone era, but Black Ops 6 has been pulling me back in pretty hard. It's been a good feeling to be grinding camos, pushing for prestige, putting in hours that I haven't done in a long time. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. So I wanted to do something I haven't done in a very long time, and that is give you guys my full, unfiltered thoughts on the new COD multiplayer. It's been a while since I even played a Call of Duty multiplayer long enough to feel confident enough to make a video and review it, and it kind of feels good to be back in the position like that. It's not to say this game is perfect, because it's not, but we're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you guys a rundown of everything about Black Ops 6 I've been loving, and then I'm going to transition to the stuff that I don't love so much. So you tell me your thoughts on Black Ops 6 multiplayer down in the comments. Drop a like on the videos. And if you like this type of video, this format, let me know. We can do this more in the future. So the first main positive takeaway of Black Ops 6 for me is, yes, the movement. Omni movement absolutely blew me away when I first tried it. I'm still loving it. There's been a lot of weird movement exploits, yes, in recent Call of Duty multiplayers. You had slide canceling, midair strafing, that kind of thing. And honestly, that kind of pushed me away from the game. I love Call of Duty when it was simple, straightforward, so naturally the crazy movement exploits of Warzone in that era kind of sucked for me and sucked the fun out of the game, and I was kind of worried that Omni movement was just going to push me away even harder because it was giving us the most movement we've ever seen in COD. The jetpacks, that was an enhancement of the old school movement system, but Omni movement, it's a new beast entirely. Way more options. I mean, just so much, but instead of pushing me away, it's actually pulled me back in. Having so much movement built into the core skeleton of the game has made it feel way more refined. It honestly feels natural. It does. The other movement exploits I talked about, they're not natural. I mean, this feels like it has intention, and I think it flows. Plus, you can do some pretty awesome things with Omni movement, and there's so many new ways to challenge enemy players. You dive around corners, slide down staircases, personal favorite, flop out the window or the balconies. It's cool. The second main positive of Black Ops 6 for me is the score streak system. It feels good to have a traditional Black Ops 2, 3, 4 score streak system back as a core mechanic, especially since I'm someone who primarily plays domination. It really rewards me for getting the flags, holding down objectives. I'm also a huge fan of how Treyarch buffed assist rewards because, again, it really rewards you for pushing those OBJs, engaging with fights that you might not win because you're still being rewarded for helping the team. You get way more points for UAV assist this year than in previous games, and gun assist are worth a full 100 points. So it is a lot easier to get your streaks, especially if you're playing the objectives. Now, on the topic of getting points, I think the new perk system is really good. Not only are there perks like Dispatcher, Guardian, they're 100% tailored to objective players and support players like me that are constantly diving onto flags, trying to keep UAVs in the air 24/7, but the new layout is generally interesting. Instead of having your 3 perks split into 3 colored categories, those 3 categories are now all part of 3 class perks, and then you have to do some kind of min-maxing to figure out how to fine-tune your playstyle, and there's even bonus 4th perks if you decide to commit to one style of the perk for all 3. Now, granted, those fourth perks might be a little too strong. I'm definitely grateful for the recon nerf that Treyarch pushed out, but the concept is good. I think as Treyarch continues pushing out the tuning adjustments, things are going to get tighter and tighter. I haven't had this much fun actually picking my perks since the Black Ops 3 days. I did also want to throw some props to the camo challenges this year because I'm one of the many people who wasn't really a fan of the post-Warzone style of camo challenges that were pretty obviously designed to keep you playing the game for years without any regard to whether or not they were fun. Modern Warfare 2019 and its sequels had some of the most annoying camo challenges out there. Get a bunch of kills while crouched, mounted. They force you to get long shots with guns that weren't designed to get long shots, and Treyarch has completely done away with that. They went back to the traditional old-school camo system. In fact, it's more or less the same system that Black Ops 2 and 3 had, which I am 100% in favor of. Your first batch of camos are unlocked by getting headshots with a gun or one-shot kills with snipers, and once you finish that batch, you'll unlock a second, smaller batch of challenges. Requires you to do specific things. Double kills, multiple kills without taking damage. They're challenges, but they're not nearly as annoying or intrusive as other recent COD games. Again, my point is, Black Ops 6 camo system is really good. It's long enough to feel rewarding when you finish it, but the challenges themselves aren't so random or intrusive that they force you to play the game in a way that's not fun. This is the first time in years that I've actually enjoyed my time grinding camos. That's a big deal for me. I may actually end up getting the mastery camo somewhere down the road. It's going to take me a while, but yeah. Now, I do want to talk about the matchmaking a little bit because I think there's some positive things about it, but there's also some negative things. So I guess we'll treat this as a little transition from the positive section of the video to the constructive. Firstly, I want to give props to Treyarch for bringing back pregame lobbies, map voting, which I know are two things that have been a little hard to come by in post-Modern Warfare 2 world. Feels great to be able to vote for the map while also getting some pregame bantering with other players. I also don't think the skill-based matchmaking is quite as strong as it has been in recent years, which might be totally subjective, but I haven't noticed quite as many COD Champs lobbies on my own as I did in the Modern Warfare trilogy or in Black Ops Cold War. Yes, there are COD Champs lobbies, I know, and I get thrown into them every now and again, but it doesn't feel it's at a frequency like the other games, which is appreciated. With that being said, the skill-based matchmaking is still a bit too strong. I really wish Treyarch would just come out and tell us how the matchmaking works so we know what to expect. I'll play 3 or 4 games that feel really random. They're enjoyable. Then I'll get 1 to 2 games that feel like Sweat Central, or they're insanely laggy out of nowhere. A lot of people have been talking about how inconsistent the connection of the game is, both because of the skill-based matchmaking and because of the desyncing issues going on with the servers. I'm just hoping it gets ironed out because, again, the SBMM doesn't seem to be as bad this year, but it's there. I mean, it's not intruding on my fun as frequently as it did in Modern Warfare games, but it is definitely still there. So now, we're officially in the negative zone, or constructive zone of the video. So let's talk about the spawns. I think this is one of my biggest issues right now, moment to moment, with the gameplay. I am tired of spawning right on top of somebody or right in somebody's line of sight. I'm also tired of spawning on the opposite side of the map from the action and then having to waste 20 to 30 seconds just making my way back to where I need to be. Granted, there aren't very many maps big enough for that to happen, but the spawns are a little bit janky right now, especially in Domination. I've heard some other Call of Duty YouTubers talk about the Domination spawn logic, and it's working the way it used to. And to some extent, I agree, but I also don't remember the Domination spawns in old school COD games being this out of whack. I think the spawn engine's logic is perfectly fine, but there needs to be some kind of safety net put in place so you don't spawn right in front of someone or in somebody's line of sight, because that's what's bothering me the most. Now, my problem with the spawns doesn't really stop with spawn points themselves, because there's 2 other problems with the spawns that could be patched out instantly, those being the mid-match spawns and the spawn animations. Now, when I say mid-match, I'm talking about that really annoying thing that when you join a match in progress, the game automatically spawns you in before you even pick a class. So you could actually die once or twice before you even start playing the game, which that's annoying to me because it messes with your KD, but also gives enemy players some free points toward their streaks, and they didn't earn them. The game shouldn't be spawning you in before you pick a class. I think that's lame. But spawn animations are an even bigger problem, because I'm sure all of you have gotten killed because you spawned in right next to an enemy and then you couldn't shoot them because your soldier was doing some kind of animation with their gun. When you first spawn in, your soldier will cock their gun or check the chamber or something along those lines, which that would be cool if the spawn engine wasn't unsafe. Because this means if you get an unsafe spawn, which happens a lot on the smaller maps, Babylon, Payback, Nuketown, you're screwed, because an enemy player will likely notice you and shoot you before your character is finished preparing their gun. Treyarch really has to get rid of the spawn animations, because with the spawn engine not being perfect right now, it's causing problems. Quite honestly, the janky spawns wouldn't bother me as much if I could at least fight back against the enemies that might be around me, but in those cases, I'm done. I'm dead, 100%. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is map variety. I've seen a lot of negative discussion around the maps in Black Ops 6, and I'm split on this. One hand, I understand why some people aren't enjoying the maps. On the other hand, I don't think they're nearly as bad as a lot of people are saying. Heck, I've been seeing people call Black Ops 6 launch maps the worst launch maps in COD history, to which I would just laugh, because I guess they forgot about Modern Warfare 2019's launch maps, or the Ghost launch maps, or come on. Black Ops 6 launch maps are not all bangers, and there's certainly some stinkers in the mix, Red Card, Lowtown, but I think the majority of them are good. Heck, I actually like a lot of them. Payback, Scud, Skyline, they're some of my favorite Treyarch maps in years, but I think the issue with the map selection right now is that many of them play similarly. So even though there's a lot of maps in the game at launch, there's not a lot of standouts when it comes to playstyle. When you look at other COD multiplayers, they have certain maps that are good for sniping. Certain maps you're supposed to be flanking. Certain maps you're supposed to focus on power position, so on and so forth. The problem with Black Ops 6's launch maps, to me, is basically all of them are designed for aggressive rushing. I think that's making people a lot more critical of them than they otherwise would be, because on paper, almost all the Black Ops 6 maps are well designed, but if you want to sit back and snipe, which map are you doing that on? If you want to play sneaky stealthy, which one? Black Ops 6 is a game all about aggression, close to mid-range combat, speed, and I admit, that can get a little boring for me after a while. So, while I don't think the maps are as bad as people are coming off on, I do think there needs to be a bit more variety in the way the maps play. Hopefully, that's something that gets addressed with the DLC. And there you have it. So, in closing, I'm going to say this. I'm having more fun with this Call of Duty experience than I have in a long time. I get senses of nostalgia, senses of how it used to feel when I really enjoyed COD. So for that, I'm truly grateful. No Call of Duty is going to be perfect. They're never going to get it all right. They're just not. They're never going to make the community completely happy. But I think that as we go with this and they tighten things up, and if they listen to the community and they fix the issues, this is going to be one of the better years of Call of Duty we've had in a long time. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Give me your thoughts, and I'll see you soon.